This is the story of a young man who is much more than he appears, a diamond in the rough. One night in the desert of Agrabah, Jafar, the Sultan's advisor with dark ambitions, and his loyal parrot Iago meet Gazim, a thief. They've promised him riches in exchange for an ancient lamp. Using a golden scarab, they uncover the entrance to the Cave of Wonders, a giant tiger-shaped mouth that only allows entry to the diamond in the rough. When Gazim tries to enter, the cave swallows him whole. Jafar realizes he must find this diamond in the rough. Meanwhile, in the city, we meet Aladdin, a young man with a big heart but not a single coin to his name, always accompanied by his clever monkey, Abu. His daily life revolves around dodging the guards just to survive. After a tense chase, Aladdin and Abu are about to enjoy a stolen loaf of bread when they see some hungry children. Without hesitation, Aladdin offers them his food. Suddenly, they hear the parade of Ahmed, an arrogant prince. One of the children gets too close, and Ahmed furiously yells at them, attempting to whip them. Aladdin confronts him, defending the children and criticizing his lack of manners. Ahmed pushes Aladdin into the mud, declaring in front of everyone that he's nothing but a street rat. After that unpleasant encounter, Aladdin and Abu return to their hideout. Looking toward the palace, Aladdin promises Abu that one day things will change. They'll be rich, live in the palace, and have no worries. Meanwhile, the Sultan struggles to find a prince for his daughter, Princess Jasmine, especially after Raja, her tiger, frightens off the latest suitor, Ahmed, the same man who insulted Aladdin. The Sultan tries to convince Jasmine to accept a suitor, citing that the law requires her to marry before her next birthday, which is in 3 days. But Jasmine rejects the rule, expressing her desire to marry for love and her frustration at never having done anything for herself or left the palace. Worried about his daughter's future, the Sultan turns to Jafar. With a touch of magic, Jafar hypnotizes the Sultan using his snake-shaped staff. He convinces the Sultan to give him his blue diamond ring, claiming he needs it to find a suitable husband for Jasmine. But in truth, Jafar plans to use the ring to identify the diamond in the rough as part of his scheme to seize power in Agrabah. Frustrated by the restrictions of palace life, Jasmine disguises herself as a commoner and escapes. In the bazaar, she tries to help a hungry child by giving him an apple, but without money to pay for it, the merchant gets angry and threatens to punish her. At that critical moment, Aladdin rescues her, and they flee together. Meanwhile, Jafar discovers that Aladdin is the diamond in the rough he's been searching for. At Aladdin's hideout, Jasmine is captivated by his generosity. Looking toward the palace, Aladdin dreams of living there, but Jasmine explains that such a life comes with its own chains. They both open up about feeling trapped in their worlds, sharing a moment of connection. When Aladdin asks where she's from, Jasmine reveals that she ran away to avoid a forced marriage, longing for freedom and her own adventures. Just as they're about to kiss, the guards interrupt and capture Aladdin. That's when Jasmine reveals her identity, trying to use her status to free Aladdin, but the guards say they're following Jafar's orders, so she'll have to take it up with him. Jasmine confronts Jafar, who lies to her and says that Aladdin has already been executed for kidnapping the princess. Jasmine cries in the palace gardens, comforted by her tiger. But Aladdin has not been executed. He's imprisoned. Abu, ever clever, manages to free him. In the dungeon, they meet an old man who's none other than Jafar in disguise. Hearing Aladdin worry about the law that prevents Jasmine from marrying anyone but a prince and calling himself a street rat, the old man reveals the existence of a cave of wonders, a place full of treasures, promising him enough riches to win the Sultan's favor. The disguised Jafar persuades Aladdin to help. He shows him a secret way out and promises him wealth if he brings back a lamp from the cave. When they arrive, the tiger head allows Aladdin and Abu to enter, but warns them to touch only the lamp. Inside, they find a world filled with treasures and, with the help of a magic carpet, head off to locate the lamp. Aladdin finds the lamp, but Abu cannot resist temptation and grabs a ruby, unleashing the fury of the guardian tiger and causing the cave to collapse. Thanks to the carpet, they escape toward the entrance, where Jafar, still in disguise, pleads with them for the lamp. Jafar reveals his true intentions and tries to eliminate Aladdin, but Abu intervenes just in time. Aladdin and Abu fall back into the cave, which closes on them. While Jafar discovers the lamp is gone, Abu snatched it back. At the palace, Jasmine weeps over Jafar's actions and tells her father what happened. The Sultan confronts Jafar for executing an innocent man. Jafar apologizes, but Jasmine warns him that once she becomes queen, she'll have the power to get rid of him. Jafar feels concerned, but Iago proposes a new plan. Jafar should marry Jasmine to become Sultan and then get rid of her and her father. Aladdin examines the lamp and upon rubbing it, releases a charismatic blue genie who promises to grant him 3 wishes, with a few rules: no killing, no making anyone fall in love, no resurrecting the dead, and no wishing for more wishes. Aladdin cleverly manages to get the genie to get them out of the cave without using a wish. Once outside, Aladdin and the genie get to know each other better. The genie confesses that if he could, he would wish for his freedom. Aladdin promises that his final wish will be to free him. In love with Jasmine, and since the law states that only a prince can marry a princess, Aladdin's first wish is to become a wealthy and spectacular prince. Abu is transformed into a purple elephant, and the genie prepares a grand entrance into Agrabah for both of them. Each main character struggles to free themselves from the constraints imposed by their respective circumstances. Aladdin, in particular, an orphaned and penniless young man, is marginalized and scorned by those around him. Called a street rat, this rejection becomes part of how he sees himself, even if he doesn't truly believe it, largely because it's what he constantly hears, and also because he lives in a society that offers him no chance to improve his situation. To change how he feels about himself, Aladdin would need the opportunity to prove his worth, but he finds no such chance anywhere. A clear example of this is the law that forbids him from being with Jasmine simply because he isn't a prince, which essentially tells him that no matter what he does, he'll never have access to the world of privilege that she represents. So how is he supposed to change his self-image if society gives him no opportunities to advance? In the end, these social norms push him to act dishonestly to get what he needs or wants, like stealing food, or pretending to be someone he's not to impress Jasmine, because he believes he has no other option. Thus, convinced that only by becoming rich will he gain the opportunities that he longs for, his first wish is to become a wealthy prince in order to win Jasmine's heart. But he'll soon realize the limitations of that world as well. Meanwhile, Jafar tries to manipulate the Sultan into marrying Jasmine by using his staff, but his plan unravels with the arrival of Aladdin, now Prince Ali Ababa, and his magnificent entourage captivating the entire palace. Aladdin's arrival leaves everyone amazed, including the Sultan, though Jafar eyes the new prince with suspicion. The discussion about who is best suited for Jasmine is cut short by Jasmine herself, who refuses to be seen as a prize to be won. Disheartened, Aladdin confesses to the genie that Jasmine didn't even want to talk to him. He believes his dream of becoming a prince was doomed from the start. The genie suggests that the key to winning Jasmine over is to tell her the truth, but Aladdin fears if Jasmine discovers his true identity, she'll only mock him. Determined to impress her, Aladdin plans to act calm, elegant, and confident. When he arrives at Jasmine's balcony, he tries to display that confidence, but his change in voice and demeanor fails to convince her. She sees him as just another arrogant prince. The situation shifts when Aladdin, removing his turban to shoo away Raja, causes Jasmine to recall the young man she met in the marketplace. Despite her suspicions, Aladdin denies being him, insisting that it's his servants who go to the market for him. Trying to win back her attention, Aladdin speaks of his wealth and power, but Jasmine remains indifferent and rejects him again. Remembering the genie's advice, Aladdin acknowledges that Jasmine is not a prize to be won, and that she must be free to choose her own future before leaping onto the balcony and preparing to leave on his magic carpet. Curious and less hostile, Jasmine becomes interested when Aladdin offers to explore the world together. She accepts his invitation, and they set off on the carpet. They travel as far as China, where Aladdin, caught in a trap set by Jasmine, nearly reveals his identity by mentioning Abu. She challenges him to admit that he's the young man from the market, but Aladdin, still eager to impress her, says that he's actually a prince who disguises himself, just as Jasmine once did. Aladdin presents himself as a wealthy prince, but he soon begins to understand the limitations of Jasmine's world. He sees that even though she lives among the rich, she's trapped by a system that limits her freedom of choice, controlled by laws and the decisions of the men around her. After boasting of his power and wealth, and being rejected, Aladdin understands Jasmine's desire for freedom, something symbolized by their flight on the magic carpet, which represents liberation from physical and social constraints. Aladdin also shows some understanding when he attempts to explain, though dishonestly, that he too wears a disguise to escape palace restrictions. Ultimately, both long to free themselves from the chains of their respective worlds, each restrictive in its own way. Still, Aladdin, struggling with poor self-image and fear of rejection, fails to be himself. When we devalue ourselves, we cannot imagine that someone would love us for who we truly are, which often leads us to behave poorly. Aladdin believes that if Jasmine sees who he really is, she'll reject him, and so he continues his cycle of dishonesty. This highlights how, in trying to gain others' acceptance, we sometimes make bad choices instead of first accepting ourselves and then finding the right people. After bringing her back to the palace, Aladdin and Jasmine share a magical moment with their first kiss. Jafar, afraid that Aladdin, whom he mockingly calls Prince Abubu, might win Jasmine's heart, orders Aladdin's capture. Aladdin is ambushed and captured by the guards who, following Jafar's orders, bind and gag him. They throw him into the sea, tied to a heavy metal ball, and he sinks rapidly. Desperate to survive, Aladdin tries to reach his lamp, but the lack of air and the weight overwhelm him. Just when all seems lost, the lamp brushes against Aladdin's fingers, causing the genie to appear and save him, thus using his second wish. Back on solid ground, Aladdin thanks the genie and, with determination, returns to the palace, where he confronts Jafar, exposing his actions before the Sultan. Jafar attempts to manipulate the Sultan using his staff, but Aladdin, quick and clever, breaks the staff, revealing Jafar's true intentions to the Sultan. In the critical moment, Jafar escapes, though not before noticing the lamp in Aladdin's possession, planting the seed for future trouble. The Sultan, relieved and grateful, declares Aladdin his heir, believing all problems have been resolved. However, Aladdin is overcome with guilt. He has fallen in love with Jasmine, but the relationship is built on lies. To win Jasmine's love, Aladdin finds himself lying, spinning stories he later forgets, such as when he talks about Abu, which nearly reveals his true identity. This part of the story highlights how difficult it is to maintain lies. It takes a great deal of mental effort to remember what was said, to whom, and how not to contradict oneself, and this effort to keep the story consistent often leads to mistakes that increase the risk of being found out. Living a lie is fragile and unsustainable. While lying may seem like an easy short-term solution, the truth always finds a way to come out, often with unexpected consequences. Furthermore, lying limits the other person's freedom and makes us prisoners of our own falsehoods, because genuine, true relationships can only grow in an environment of mutual freedom. The next day, Aladdin confides his dilemma to the genie. He fears losing Jasmine if the truth comes out, and he cannot continue being Prince Ali without the genie's help. He decides to go back on his promise to use the third wish to free Genie. Disillusioned, the genie points out how much Aladdin has lied to get to where he is, before retreating back into his lamp. The genie can do almost anything, but despite his immense power, he may be the most trapped of all. This is because he cannot use his great power for himself or escape his life as a slave to the lamp. He must always obey the wishes of his master. This shows us an important idea. No matter how much power or talent one has, without the ability to exercise that power by one's own will, one can still be considered, essentially, chained. Aladdin lashes out in anger at the genie, Abu, and the carpet, and afterward, feeling remorseful, decides to go and tell Jasmine the truth. But before he can do so, Jafar, with the help of Iago, steals the lamp. His first wish is to become the Sultan, usurping power just as Aladdin is about to confess the truth to Jasmine. When the former Sultan and Jasmine refuse to bow, Jafar wishes to become the most powerful sorcerer in the world and forces them to kneel. He exposes Aladdin's true identity and sends him flying to a distant snowy land. Abu and the magic carpet are also banished with him. Aladdin flies back to Agrabah to recover the lamp and set things right. Jafar tries to force Jasmine to love him and become his queen, but the genie warns him that he cannot grant that wish. Jasmine, seeing Aladdin sneaking into the palace, pretends to be in love with Jafar to distract him and buy Aladdin some time. Her performance is very convincing. She even kisses Jafar, causing everyone, including Iago, to nearly vomit. However, when Jafar sees Aladdin's reflection in Jasmine's crown, he realizes the trick and confronts him before he reaches the lamp. Furious, Jafar traps Jasmine in a giant hourglass, turns Abu into a toy, and destroys the carpet, stopping them from retrieving the lamp. He then transforms into a massive cobra. When Aladdin appears defeated, Jafar calls him a fool for thinking he could defeat the most powerful being on Earth. But Aladdin challenges him, saying that, in fact, the genie is more powerful, since he was the one who gave Jafar his power. Realizing this, Jafar uses his final wish to become the most powerful genie, thinking this will allow him to rule the universe. Aladdin rescues Jasmine, and as Jafar delights in his new powers, he discovers too late that Aladdin has tricked him. Becoming a genie comes with a catch, and both Jafar and Iago end up trapped inside a lamp. The genie hurls Jafar's lamp far into the desert, condemning him to the Cave of Wonders for 100,000 years. After revealing his true identity, Aladdin believes he can no longer marry Jasmine. He sincerely apologizes for hiding the truth. Jasmine, lamenting how unfair the law is, confesses her love for him. The genie suggests using the last wish to become a prince again, but Aladdin decides to stop pretending to be someone he's not. He chooses to free the genie with his final wish, who rejoices at his newfound freedom. Aladdin tells Genie he'll miss him, and the genie assures him that Aladdin will always be a prince in his eyes. At that moment, the Sultan says that Aladdin has proven his worth and decides to change the law so Jasmine can marry whoever she wants. And as the genie sets off to explore the world, the couple begins their life together. In the film, the characters learn what it truly means to be free. They realize that the key to freedom lies in helping others achieve theirs. Everyone reaches their happy ending when they use their freedom to benefit others. Aladdin, in particular, gives up his own dream to set the genie free. This is partly because he values the genie's right to freedom more than his own desires. Moreover, after all he's been through, Aladdin has proven his worth and sees himself differently. He no longer feels the need for wealth to have value. He's ready to give up his wish, remaining true to himself. The Sultan, for his part, changes an old and unjust law, allowing his daughter to choose whom to marry. This also gives Aladdin, both literally and figuratively, the opportunity to improve his social standing, and Jasmine freely chooses Aladdin. Here, the film teaches us that the real freedom must be supported by the laws of society, and that a just society must balance individual will with available opportunities. Only then can true freedom be granted for everyone. Jafar, however, learns none of this. He does not respect others' freedom or rights, viewing people only as tools in his obsession with power. His attempt to dominate everyone leads to his downfall. In wishing to become a genie and seeking limitless power, he ends up trapped in a lamp, subject to others' wishes. His fate reveals the irony of his ambition. By trying to completely control everyone else's freedom, he ends up completely controlled himself, and thereby losing his own freedom. Thanks for staying until the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend who you think might enjoy it. And I'll see you in the next one.